Super Saiyan Blue is Dragon Ball's most notorious Super Saiyan form. Since its debut, there has been quite the pushback on the popularity of the form, with many of the fans thinking that it's a lazy recolor of the beloved Super Saiyan. Though this is the case, there's been quite the amount of development and deviations of this form and many efforts from Toyotaro to smooth and defend the form's existence. This video covers all 12, that's right, 12 Super Saiyan Blue forms from the two versions of Dragon Ball Super, as well as its wacky non-canon cousin, Super Dragon Ball Heroes. I also want to add that by forms and versions, I specifically mean deviations from the normal form, or where the form is used with different techniques that make it stand out from its typical usage. For simplicity's sake, this video is going to start by covering all the forms introduced in the Super anime, but cross-reference details about the form from the manga as to not cover the same form multiple times. And finally, we're going to wrap up with Super Dragon Ball Heroes. And with that, let's get into it. Let's start with the vanilla Super Saiyan Blue. Super Saiyan Blue's debut was in everyone's favorite Dragon Ball movie, Resurrection F. Super Saiyan Blue takes the appearance of the normal Super Saiyan form, but with blue hair. The movie shows Goku and Vegeta transforming into blue against Golden Frieza, but the movie doesn't show the two unlocking the form, nor does it spill much details as to what the form is. All we get is Goku explaining that Super Saiyan Blue is the Super Saiyan version of Super Saiyan God. Hence, its original name, the mouthful, Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan. For more details, we'll have to look at the Dragon Ball Super anime. Now, there's one benefit of the recap arcs of the Super anime, it's that it helped smoothen the gap between Battle of Gods and Resurrection F. There are a couple of episodes that show Goku and Vegeta's training with Whis, and it gives us the scene that many believe to be Goku and Vegeta unlocking Super Saiyan Blue for the first time. In episode 20 of Dragon Ball Super, a sparring scene with Goku and Vegeta features Whis telling them to keep their energy within their body to maximize their power. The two then continue sparring, and through a clash of fists, we see their blue aura, and they become shocked at what they're feeling. Whis then comments on how the two of them are making remarkable progress in such a short amount of time. Now, I believe this would be the first glimpse of Super Saiyan Blue chronologically in the series, as not only does it occur 4 months before Goku's rematch with Frieza, but it also gives us a glimpse of energy control, which will be an important concept to remember later in the video. Finally, in episode 25 of Super Saiyan Blue's debut, Goku once again explains to Frieza what Super Saiyan Blue is, and it's almost with the exact same dialogue as the movie. Essentially, Goku says that he got Super Saiyan God, tapped into that power on his own, then transformed into the Super Saiyan version of Super Saiyan God. This means that Super Saiyan God acted as Goku's new base, and through training with Vegeta, the two of them managed to evolve the God form into Super Saiyan Blue. I believe this would also be the canonical explanation as to why both God and Blue have the similar hairstyle as the user's base and Super Saiyan form respectively. Now, I think God pulls this off a lot better design-wise than Blue, as there are some minute details to the character's design change, but we're not really here for that. We're just talking about Super Saiyan Blue. The manga also gives us a couple of interesting facts about Blue. Both relate to its relation to energy consumption and usage. Although Blue's focus is energy control, the form does have a cost on its user. Within the manga, Goku goes Super Saiyan God against Hit, and is able to overpower his time skip. Beerus questions why this is the case when Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta, who should be stronger than Goku, couldn't do the same. And Whis comments that through usage or energy consumption, Vegeta was only able to perform at less than 10% of Blue's strength against Hit. Now, this never comes up in the anime, and I can't really give a good explanation as to why it at least doesn't show up in the Universe 6 tournament. However, one might say that this should also apply to the TOP, but by the time the Tournament of Power comes to be, Goku and Vegeta are already so strong that I don't really think it would matter. And at last, we've reached the tangential fact that the manga brings, and that is Super Saiyan Blue in relation to Super Saiyan God. Within the Universe 6 manga, the Goku Black arc, and the Tournament of Power anime, Goku and Vegeta utilize the God form with Super Saiyan Blue. This first appears when Goku fights Hit, but is further elaborated upon with Vegeta's final fight against Goku Black in the manga. Vegeta fights Black in God, but right before he attacks Black, he switches to Blue. Goku describes his strategy by saying, "Blue brings out enormous power, but you can't fight in that form for long. However, the God form is well balanced by comparison. It doesn't consume much energy either." And the very instant he throws an attack, Vegeta switches to Super Saiyan Blue. He gives one final elaboration by saying he's storing the power of Super Saiyan Blue until the right time, then he lets it explode when he needs it. Goku also explains that through training, Vegeta was able to overcome the weakness of decreasing power with energy consumption. Goku does this later in the anime when fighting Dispo, and the reasoning is still there, but it isn't as clearly stated as it is in the manga. In both instances, however, the strategy is used for the same purpose, retaining power and speed without giving up one's energy. As for the users of vanilla Super Saiyan Blue, there are only 4, being Goku and Vegeta, and their fused counterparts, both Gogeta and Vegito. Moving on to our first variation, we have the anime-exclusive Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken. With the wonderful reintroduction of the Kaioken, the Super anime decided to adapt something from Z filler, being the Kaioken in combination with the regular Super Saiyan form. Blue Kaioken has the appearance of something that anyone would expect. It's Blue Goku with the overlay of the red aura of the Kaioken. What's cool about the Blue Kaioken is that there is some narrative explanation as to how this is allowed to exist. Upon using the form against Hit in episode 39 of Super, Goku explains the following. Super Saiyan Blue is all about power through extreme control. Combine that with the calming focus of the Kaioken, and there's no telling how high it can go. This reintroduces the idea about energy control from the vanilla Super Saiyan Blue form, and why it's the perfect mix for the Kaioken technique. Even if we look back at Z, it was said that the user of the technique needed to have perfect control of their ki, which is something that Super Saiyan Blue already demands, meaning that the technique and the form mesh with each other almost perfectly. Now, Blue Kaioken, as a form, is one of my favorites within Super. Similarly to the regular Kaioken in Z, it works as a sign to show how strong the opponent is, but it also ups the narrative stakes of the fight through the risk of using the form. I think this is most noticeable in Super when Goku fights Zamasu, where Goku literally breaks his own arms, and then Zamasu grabs his legs, and then Goku is forced to use the Kaioken to get away from him. And the Tournament of Power uses it similarly, showing how strong characters like Toppo and especially Jiren are, with Goku being pushed past his limits to use the Kaioken. In terms of strength, the Blue Kaioken is one of the easiest multipliers to figure out, as Goku usually proclaims the number on it, or it can just be assumed that he's using normal Kaioken times 2. Against Hit, Goku is able to go Kaioken times 10, and this series shows that he's trained the form quite extensively, as not only is able to use higher multipliers, maxing out with times 20 against Jiren, but he is also capable of using the form multiple times in succession within the Tournament of Power. This aligns with how the Kaioken technique is used in Z, by having Goku work his way up in terms of what multiplier he's capable of doing. In terms of users, the only user of the Blue Kaioken is Goku, but Vegito does use the form in Super Dragon Ball Heroes. I'm fine with this exclusivity of the form, as it Super gives Vegeta his own evolution of Super Saiyan Blue, which we will get into in a bit. Next up is Super Saiyan Rose. Rose first made its debut at the end of Dragon Ball Super episode 56. In this episode, Goku Black transforms into Rose while fighting Blue Vegeta, and states that at this point, he's not only mastered Goku's powers, but he has made them his own. Rose is a form named by Goku Black himself, and it takes on a light pink/crimson color. And this is the only details we get about Rose from the anime, literally nothing else. For more, we once again have to go look at the manga. What sucks about the lack of detail regarding Rose is that some people don't even know what Rose is. Is it Goku Black's normal Super Saiyan form, or is it more than that? Thankfully, the manga says no, it's not normal Super Saiyan, and yes, it is more than that form. In the manga, chapter 20 to be specific, Goku Black uses the normal Super Saiyan form, and after he fights Vegeta for a bit, he decides to evolve further. Upon doing so, he goes Super Saiyan Rose. Here, the immortal Zamasu comments on the form, saying that, when a deity surpasses Super Saiyan God, instead of turning blue, his hair turns a light crimson. This quote shows that Rose is specifically Black's Super Saiyan Blue form, and not a normal Super Saiyan evolution. I feel like this quote also means that Super Saiyan Rose is a form that can only exist in the hyper-specific circumstances that Zamasu is in, which explains why Goku Black is the only user of the form. The thing about Rose is that it doesn't really get much time to shine when it comes to finding out any key differences from it and normal Super Saiyan Blue. Because of this, I think it's safe to infer that it would have the same strengths and weaknesses of Super Saiyan Blue, just with the strengths stronger and the weaknesses mitigated as to the nature of Zamasu's prodigal status as a fighter. With that though, let's discuss the last blue form within the Dragon Ball Super anime. Super Saiyan Blue Evolution is an interesting form. It sort of comes out of nowhere, but it seems pretty well loved within the Dragon Ball community. In the anime, Blue Evolution takes Super Saiyan Blue and makes its hair color more saturated and the user more muscular. Their aura also gains a distinct change, with it being super glittery and almost white when it surrounds the user, but a dark blue hue outlining the outside of the aura. In the manga, Vegeta's hair becomes a bit spikier and the aura still features the dark blue outline, but it lacks the glitter part, at least in the color scans. In terms of lore, surprisingly not much is said about Blue Evolution. In the anime, the Grand Priest says that Blue Evolution is Vegeta's limit-breaking form. The manga is similar as Whis describes it as an evolution more fitting of Vegeta's compared to Goku's Ultra Instinct. Blue Evolution doesn't get that much exposition in its future appearances either. Vegeta uses the form against Moro on 2 separate occasions, but both times neither him nor Goku highlight the form's uniqueness. In the Granola arc, Vegeta uses the form on Beerus, and once again against Granola, but also nothing about the form is spoken. It's always been my headcanon that Super Saiyan Blue Evolution was the god equivalent of Super Saiyan Grade 2, or that's Super Vegeta as you non-turbo nerds would know it. As it and the anime version of Blue Evolution look incredibly similar. Vegeta's hair and muscles get bigger, and the two forms increase the user's power without much drawback, sans the energy consumption. There's also a relation of the two forms being evolutions of lower Super Saiyan forms, with Grade 2 being an evolution of Super Saiyan 1, and Blue Evolution being an evolution of just Super Saiyan Blue. Overall, what's really sad about Blue Evolution is that the form has already fallen to obscure irrelevancy. In the anime, Super just ends before there's too much to do with the form, and in the manga, with the lack of focus on pure power Vegeta has in Moro, and the unlocking of Ego and Granola, the form has become completely useless from a narrative standpoint. Speaking of Ultra Ego, what doesn't help Blue Evolution is its role as Vegeta's limit-breaking form has been completely overshadowed by Vegeta's true limit-breaking form, the divine Ultra Ego. In both the anime and the manga, Blue Evolution was functionally compared to Goku's Ultra Instinct, but it's now clear that Ultra Ego is taking its place in the narrative. I think the true comparison to make for Super Saiyan Blue Evolution would be Blue Kaioken, as the two forms are comparable in strength, and in the Tournament of Power, they are regularly contrasted with one another. Where those two differ, however, is their explanation and narrative justification. Blue Kaioken was giving explanation and reasoning as to why it's allowed to work, but Blue Evolution just kind of exists to give Vegeta a power-up so he wouldn't be so behind Goku in terms of power. I think you guys have picked up at this point that the primary user of this form is Vegeta. However, there are also many people who believe that Gogeta uses this form in Heroes, but we'll be getting into that later. And now, we've finally reached the Super manga. So you guys remember how I told you energy control will be an important concept to remember later? Well, guess what? Now it's later, as we've reached Mastered Super Saiyan Blue. Going back to the Goku Black arc, we're at what I believe to be one of the most underrated fights in Dragon Ball Super, that being Mastered Super Saiyan Blue Goku versus Fused Zamasu. Mastered Super Saiyan Blue takes on the same appearance as normal Super Saiyan Blue, but it lacks any aura. This is because it seals away any unnecessary energy leaking from the user's body to within the user's body. Vegeta describes that this takes away Blue's weaknesses of being at full power for only a short amount of time. What this means is that the user is capable of using Super Saiyan Blue at 100% strength 100% of the time. During its debut, it's shown that holding on to this form is very risky for the user, as their body could give out at any moment, but this weakness seems to taper off within the Tournament of Power and future uses of the form. In his fight with Zamasu, however, Goku seemingly uses this to his advantage, as once he figures out he can't hold on to the form for much longer, he just releases all of his strength on Zamasu with the Hakai. Vegeta also unlocks Mastered Super Saiyan Blue shortly after the Goku Black arc, and shows it off with the fight against Beerus, but not much about the form is said in this fight. I think it's safe to say here that Mastered Super Saiyan Blue is used anytime Goku and Vegeta are using Blue after they initially unlocked it. This is similar to Super Saiyan Grade 4 or Mastered Super Saiyan, which is the form Goku and Gohan used against Cell. My main reason for this is that throughout the Tournament of Power and further depictions of Super Saiyan Blue, Goku and Vegeta usually don't have their aura, which is a distinction Mastered Super Saiyan Blue has that makes it stand out from the other Blue forms. User-wise, Blue Evolution is the usual, with it being Goku and Vegeta. Within the Broly bonus chapter of the Super manga, however, Gogeta is seen using Super Saiyan Blue when he doesn't have any aura, so I definitely believe it could be argued that he was using it as well. as it's clear that both he and Vegito, if spawned after the Goku Black arc, should be capable of using this form. And now we've reached the funny form, the funniest form on this list in my opinion. So in the Universe 6 tournament, Goku does not go Blue Kaioken. We've already talked about this. He instead uses Super Saiyan God plus Super Saiyan Blue that was described earlier in the video. Goku does, however, do something that is described to be similar to the Kaioken within the Tournament of Power manga. After Mastered Super Saiyan Blue is getting his ass kicked to Jiren, Goku proclaims that he needs pure power, and he starts powering up. Whis says that he's getting a power-up, drawing deep from his reserves for a temporary boost, regardless of what damage that might do. Tien is actually the one who compares this to the Kaioken. It's not really a Super Saiyan Blue form, as it's more of a way to utilize Mastered Super Saiyan Blue, but I thought I would give it its own section for its comparison to the Kaioken, while being completely not Blue Kaioken and used much more haphazardly than Blue Kaioken within the narrative. Appearance-wise, the colored manga shows us that it's basically Super Saiyan Blue's typical aura, just in a more explosive manner. Now, the strategy is used only one time in a form of character assassination in what I believe is the worst arc of the Super manga, and it's so silly to compare it to the Kaioken, when in Z the whole base of using the form was perfect ki control, not just letting your power explode because you're capable of doing so. Overall, I wanted to cover it as it does seem to be the manga's equivalent to Blue Kaioken, but it just totally misses the mark in terms of purpose and narrative impact. And with that, let's get into the next one. To wrap up what the manga has to say about Super Saiyan Blue, we have to look at its most recent completed arc. In the Granola Saga, Goku is capable of using Ultra Instinct with his Super Saiyan forms. This of course would include Super Saiyan Blue. I believe that this is something I'll go more in depth into if I ever make an Ultra Instinct equivalent video, but Vegeta mentions that Ultra Instinct becomes more accurate when used in conjunction with a Super Saiyan form. Super Saiyan Blue comes into play when Goku uses UI with Blue, and states that essentially, Blue is the best form to use in conjunction with Ultra Instinct, as it isn't as easy to counter as Ultra Instinct combined with Super Saiyan God. The one time this was used, however, Granola does end up besting it, but I still feel like it is distinct enough from normal Blue to constitute a section in this video. And we've now reached the batshit insane part of the video, Super Dragon Ball Heroes. For those who don't know, Super Dragon Ball Heroes is a Dragon Ball arcade game in Japan, which has both a promotional anime and a promotional manga. Within both forms of media, there are unique variations of Super Saiyan Blue that will be covered in this section of the video. What's funny is that all of these blue forms come from the same saga of heroes, being the Big Bang mission. This final section covers these forms in depth, but it also goes over some interesting implications of these forms that the series brings. First up, we have Super Saiyan Blue Controlled Berserk. Controlled Berserk is another Vegeta exclusive form, and it looks semi-similar to Super Saiyan Blue Evolution with Vegeta's hair and eyes. His aura makes a distinct change, with him being surrounded by black, evil energy produced by the evil Saiyans, and that is then outlined with the typical energy of Super Saiyan Blue. As for what the form is, there isn't too much said in the anime, but Cumbert, in the manga, states that Vegeta controlled the power of evil that runs Berserk. This Berserk power is something that an evil Saiyan imbues in an opponent to make them lose control of themselves. This same Berserk power was used on Goku earlier in the series, but Goku failed to gain control of himself while utilizing the power given to him. Essentially, Vegeta was put in a similar state, but instead of him losing control over himself, he conquered this power and made it his own. The manga also tells us that Vegeta's aura is analogous to that of Cumber's or Turles', as Goku describes it as an evil ki. It's because of this I always wanted to call this form Super Saiyan Blue Evil Evolution instead of Controlled Berserk, but Controlled Berserk is also a pretty fitting name for the form. In terms of power, I think it's safe to say that this form is pretty similar to Goku's perfected Ultra Instinct, as not only are the two forms used next to each other, but this form was capable of taking down Cumber, similar to Ultra Instinct Goku. Lore-wise, there's surprisingly a lot to be said about this form. The form serves as a perfect evolution for Vegeta's character, as it specifically unlocked through him overpowering what he perceives to be the silly notion that Saiyan power comes from evil. It instead comes from will, sticking to your convictions, and most importantly, pride. This is shown with an awesome scene where Vegeta reflects upon what he's done in the canon series up until this point. But what I like about this fight the most is that Vegeta actually manages to change the minds of both Cumber and Turles. The two evil Saiyans realize the error of their ways, and Turles even promises to go down a similar path to unlock this level of strength. It's clear that outside of the narrative, this form was given to Vegeta to put him on par with Mastered Ultra Instinct Goku, as without it, Vegeta's strongest form would be Blue Evolution, which is nowhere near that level. Also similar to Ultra Instinct, Vegeta isn't capable of holding onto this form for very long upon unlocking it. One might think that they should have just given him Ultra Ego, but you have to understand that at this point, Ultra Ego wasn't a thing. And, more importantly, the video games hate the Super manga. So I don't see this form being replaced with In-Heroes anytime soon. And now in this section, we're knocking out two birds with one stone. This is Super Saiyan Rose 2 and Super Saiyan Rose 3. As expected, these two forms take the appearance of Goku's Super Saiyan 2 and Super Saiyan 3, but with the light crimson hair color of Super Saiyan Rose. Unfortunately, similar to normal Rose, there isn't much to be said about these forms. The Crimson Masked Saiyan, aka Goku Black, unlocked this form after he gained complete control of Goku's body through the infinitely badass way of hopping from timeline to timeline and then battling and killing the Gokus from said timelines. That will never not be cool to me. While fighting the warrior in black, aka Bardock, he busts out these two forms with no true explanation. Super Saiyan Rose 2 goes by pretty quickly, as he then transforms into Super Saiyan Rose 3 in the anime, and in the manga, Super Saiyan Rose 2 isn't really seen. Although not much is said about these forms, I believe the manga gives us further insight into how these forms are able to exist. In the story, the gang are fighting Goku Black in a pseudo-universe made of energy analogous to the real world. Basically, Black in this story is a being of energy. He gains immortality through the energy of the pseudo-universe. The energy heals him whenever he's damaged, and he explains that this in turn allows him to gain the benefit from the Saiyan Zenkai boost. This is described by Bardock as being benefited further through Zamasu's being in Goku's body. He says that the incorporation of a god's soul gets rid of the Saiyan's limits. To sum it up, similar to normal Rose, through the hyper-specific conditions that Goku Black was under, he was able to evolve Super Saiyan Blue to heights never seen before. I think what's more interesting here is what this means for regular Super Saiyan Blue and its other variations. I think it's not too crazy to say that if normal Super Saiyan can be mixed with God, then so should Super Saiyan's natural evolutions. Furthermore, I also believe this alludes to my theory about Blue Evolution being equivalent to Super Vegeta, aka Super Saiyan Grade 2. What sucks about this though is that there's probably never going to be any reason for this to ever enter the canon series, as Vegeta and Goku are going down their God routes. Not that I think this would be a better primary form or focus for Goku and Vegeta, I just think further elaboration on Super Saiyan Blue would be really cool in some canon material. Now next up, we have a form that I was considering not really mentioning, but I thought I would bring it up. This is Gogeta's Super Saiyan Blue evolution. At least, that's what the Dragon Ball Wiki calls it. I'm not so sure I want to commit to calling it Blue Evolution though. In both the manga and the anime of Heroes, this form does not get called Blue Evolution, but it doesn't get an exact name either. To start with why it could be considered Blue Evolution, we see that it's called an evolved state by Frieza in the anime. Gogeta also gets pupils in his eyes, which is only shared with Blue Evolution and Blue Controlled Berserk. So you would think that, yeah, this has got to be Blue Evolution. But I think there's just enough for me to have my reserves. The main signs against this are Gogeta's hair, his physical build, and his aura. First off, his hair doesn't change that much. In fact, I would say that its shine makes it look a bit lighter of a hue of blue compared to its spikier, darker blue of evolution. Second, Gogeta doesn't get bulkier like Vegeta. He seems to be in the same size as his normal blue. And third, and what I believe is the most important, is that his aura is completely different from Vegeta's Blue Evolution. Unlike Vegeta's, Gogeta's aura isn't blue. It's silver steam emitting from his body. The Crimson Masked Saiyan in the manga says that Gogeta has a glowing ki, and what sucks is that we can't really compare what it looks like compared to Vegeta's Blue Evolution in the manga, as Vegeta never uses that form in the manga. The manga also tells us that Gogeta unlocked this form through the training of Goku and Vegeta. I think this is important to note as we know Vegeta is capable of freely using the Blue Kaioken without any further training, but it seems that this form was only to be able to be used after Goku and Vegeta trained their already strongest forms, being Ultra Instinct and Controlled Berserk respectively. So with that being said, if this form isn't Blue Evolution, then what is it? Well, I think it's a mix of Blue and Ultra Instinct. I think that would explain the lack of physical similarities to Blue Evolution. It also accounts for the one physical similarity between the two forms being Gogeta's eyes, as mastered Ultra Instinct, Goku also has the pupils. This also accounts for the big differences between hair color, physical build, and white aura. All these physical traits are elements of Ultra Instinct's appearance. This would also account for the power difference between Blue Gogeta and whatever this form is. Gogeta mollywops the Crimson Masked Saiyan in this form, indicating that there's a great power difference between it and regular Super Saiyan Blue. And we know that Blue Evolution doesn't give the user that much power compared to its brethren of both Blue-controlled Berserk and Ultra Instinct. Furthermore, I want to add that I did go through some Super Dragon Ball Heroes cards that are played within the game, and I found out that these cards are just the characters' names and not the form like they are Dokkan cards. So I literally have no idea where the notion of it being Blue Evolution came from, nor do I know what it's called in-game. I want to end this form by asking, what do you guys think? Do you think it's Blue Evolution? Do you think it's a combo of Ultra Instinct? Or is it something else entirely? Let me know in the comments below. And at last, we've reached the final Super Saiyan Blue form. This is another one that might not be a unique form, but I think the circumstances and design warrant this having spot in this video. So what happens here is that Fu essentially wins the arc. He uses the universe tree, which is a giant tree whose roots connect to every universe. It has the capabilities to birth new universes as well. Goku sees this and is like, you know, I can take it. As he tries to power through the power of every universe, and he succeeds. Goku then takes a stance similar to the Spirit Bomb as he absorbs energy from the tree. Fu comments on how silly this is, as Goku should just die from the amount of energy, but after some bulging of veins and his shirt being annihilated, Goku absorbs the energy. Now, Super Saiyan Blue (parentheses Universe Tree) is a form drawn in a pretty unique way in the anime. The outline of Goku's body becomes thicker to reflect the stress he's under, and there seems to be some sort of unique aura outlining his body. The outline of his hair also becomes a sharper blue. Unfortunately, in the manga, this seems to be a normal Super Saiyan Blue, but I think that that's just because the manga lacks color, so you can't really see the differences. Overall, I think this is one of the best scenes with Super Saiyan Blue. I think it looks pretty cool, and the way Goku acquires it is so aligned with his character. But yeah, that's just about it. But before ending the video, I want to cover one more thing that Heroes says about Super Saiyan Blue. And that thing is Trunks having Super Saiyan God. I think this shows us that hybrid Saiyans are not only capable of having Saiyan God Ki, but they should also be able to use Super Saiyan Blue. I'm not sure if we'll ever see a Blue Gohan in the manga, as he does have his Beast form, but we might eventually get it with Goten, Trunks, or Gotenks. And that's it. That's every Super Saiyan Blue form. Their appearance, their users, and how they're all unique from one another. Except that one from the Tournament of Power manga, that sucks. I hope you guys enjoyed it, as this is the first piece of content that I've really wanted to make for a long time. I love narrative analyses like this, and I would love to go in depth like this for other Dragon Ball concepts. And with that said, I hope you guys have a good day, and thanks for watching, everyone.